Which means even if it is a voting percentage of 70 or 65, still it's a substantial number of votes which is yet to be counted.
Look at some of these rebels, some of them are winning.
Yeah.
For example, Lakshman Sawadi has won. And Jagdish Shettar, who's a former chief minister, 6-time sitting MLA from Hubli Dharwar Central. He's not winning.
Congress has sent out the news, ladies and gentlemen, an update. The Congress has asked all its candidates to come to Bengaluru. Namaste, Jai Hind, and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. On this date, 9 years ago, Prime Minister Narendra Modi assumed charge of the government of India, and since then, under his leadership, his team has been wanting or committed to living up to a promise that would take India to an Atmanirbhar Bharat, a vision that's been outlined over 9 long years, step by step, inch by inch. A promise that started with Sabka Saath and Sabka Vikas, and then saw Sabka Vishwas added to it, and eventually now finds Sabka Prayas also added to this entire motto. The story of Bharat that began with a vision of Make in India, Jam Portal, connecting, and Antyodaya, giving the benefit, reaching to the person standing last in the queue, last mile delivery, to now setting up the vision of an Atmanirbhar Bharat, an Ek Bharat, a Shresht Bharat, a Viksit Bharat by the time we as a nation complete 100 years of our independence in 2047. 9 years of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, 9 years of Seva Sushasana. That's the commitment. And now Prime Minister Narendra Modi further saying that we will only endeavor to work harder. As the government completes 9 years, enters into its 10th year of governance, on Wednesday we are expecting Prime Minister Narendra Modi to address a large gathering in poll-bound Rajasthan very soon. But what are the 8 or 9 pillars over the last 9 years that the government has been focusing on? A strong, stable, secure, sustainable, socially well, scientifically driven, self-reliant, and of course steeped in its Sanatan roots, and working towards statesmanship. As Bharat announces itself as the champion, the carer, and of course voice of the global south at the global stage in the year of the G20 leadership, these are the pillars around which Prime Minister Narendra Modi has tried to stitch the story of Bharat. Bharat under his leadership, Bharat under a BJP that's gone on from strength to strength, a Bharat where he believes and he has claimed that will bring back the actual ethos of what was envisioned for this country. Strong, stable, secure, sustainable, scientific, socially well, self-reliant, Sanatan, and of course statesman or statesman-like. Now this is also Prime Minister Narendra Modi's leadership, but this is also the image of Bharat that his leadership and his team want to portray. Have they delivered? Have they been able to make good? These are questions that remain. As these pillars go away, we will debate, and we are also standing by for some of the ministers in his team to join us tonight on this edition. We should have the MOL and skill development, Rajiv Chandrasekhar ji joining us. But first, ladies and gentlemen, let's try and trace out how far has Prime Minister Narendra Modi taken India under his leadership. How far have his team managed to steer India in the direction of a Viksit Atmanirbhar Bharat? This entire aspect of Atmanirbharta came through around the time of the pandemic. But has Prime Minister Narendra Modi led BJP government delivered? What is it that they have achieved and what has changed in terms of technology, infrastructure, self-reliance and connectivity?
चुनौती ये नहीं है कि आप कितने एफिशिएंट हैं, बल्कि चुनौती ये तय करने में है कि जहां जो डेफिशिएंसी है वो कैसे दूर होगी।
India's target is clear, a 5 trillion economy, and to achieve that, the Prime Minister has made up his mind. It's self-reliance, connectivity and vocal for local. As PM, Narendra Modi has shown meticulous dedication towards India's infrastructure push. Evident from the fact that India now has 16 Vande Bharat routes that are operational, 2 more that have been flagged off. Indigenously manufactured, semi-high-speed, self-propelled trains, all achieved in a span of 4 years. India's rail infra push has been so comprehensive that the country saw many milestones, including the first double-decker passenger train, privately operated train services, and launch of high-speed train projects.
यदि लक्ष्य दुरंत है, यात्राएं दिगंत है, समंदर और चुनौतियां अनंत है, भारत का उत्तर है विक्रांत।
Atmanirbharta push in the defense sector has been the Prime Minister's pet project. And that push ensures our forces not only are better equipped, but are also proud of its self-reliance. Just recently, the Indian Navy achieved a historic milestone by undertaking a maiden night landing of MiG-29K on INS Vikrant.
जो सुविधा शहर को उपलब्ध है, वो सुविधा गांव को भी उपलब्ध होनी चाहिए। अगर शहर में बिजली जगमगाती है, तो गांव में भी बिजली जगमगानी चाहिए। अगर शहर के लोग मन चाहे तब टीवी देख सकते हैं, गांव के लोग भी देख सके।
International Energy Agency has called India's rural electrification push one of the greatest success stories. By 2021, India's average rural power supply improved to 22 hours a day. Prime Minister Gati Shakti, the National Infrastructure Master Plan, seamlessly links road, rail, air and water transport. Total investment for 83,677 kilometre-long roads, committed new highways, is estimated at 10.63 lakh crores under the Bharatmala Pariyojana. Meanwhile, the Udan scheme has ensured that every Indian can now take to the skies.
भारत का स्टार्टअप इकोसिस्टम आज दुनिया में अपना परचम लहरा रहा है। ये भारत के स्टार्टअप इकोसिस्टम की ताकत है कि वो पैशन से, सिंसियरिटी से और इंटीग्रिटी से भरा हुआ है।
Then the Modi government set out through initiatives like Make in India to encourage manufacturing. Under the Modi government, India has emerged as the third largest startup ecosystem in the world. This is thanks to key policy initiatives like Startup India with a 10,000 crore funding pool, which has made it easy for Indian startups to launch, operate and seek funds.
भारत की सदी बनाने के लिए बहुत जरूरी है कि भारत के युवा पढ़ाई के साथ ही स्किल में भी उतने ही दक्ष हों।
Schemes like Skill India and Stand Up India have also been immensely successful. 23 new unicorns have come up in just the last 1 year, overtaking China for the second consecutive year. And just like that, India's journey towards self-reliance has only begun.
Well, Atmanirbharta also means that the economy has to grow. There are complaints from the opposition of inflation, of unemployment, but the government stacks up the numbers and is showing India as the 5th largest economy in the world, fast moving towards becoming a 5 trillion economy. In 2019, Prime Minister Narendra Modi had famously envisioned that India would become a 5 trillion economy by 2024-2025. At that time, no one had thought about the COVID pandemic that set the entire world back by a few years. The deadline may have been moved forward by a year, 25-26, but India's economy still remains a bright spot amid global headwinds.
भारत ने अगले 5 साल में अपनी इकोनॉमी को दोगुनी करके $5 ट्रिलियन तक पहुंचने का लक्ष्य रखा है.
When the NDA government began its second tenure at the centre, Prime Minister Modi outlined his vision for the economy. 2025 deadline for a 5 trillion economy. While that deadline may be pushed forward, India's economy still remains a bright spot amid global headwinds. The International Monetary Fund has projected yield globally despite facing significant challenges such as financial sector turmoil, inflationary pressures and the effects of the Russia-Ukraine war, which have had effects around the world.
India deserves to be called a bright spot on this otherwise darker horizon, a fast-growing economy even during these difficult times. This growth is underpinned by structural reforms.
So the endorsement coming from global platforms that the growth is being underpinned or underlined by structural reforms. Joining us now is the MOS IT and Skill Development, Rajiv Chandrasekhar ji. Rajiv ji, Namaste, Jai Hind. Can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you, Anand. Thank you.
So 9 years of Modi Sarkar, and you're joining us live at this point. May I ask you, there is a book that's been launched that talks about Seva, Sushasana, and there is this entire endeavor of Sampark, Jan Sampark. But for you, what is the single biggest achievement under Prime Minister Narendra Modi in the last 9 years?
Look, I don't think, Anand, there is one single thing. But if you have to look at one broad idea, it is that in a lot of ways, India, the potential of Indians that had been held back for 6.5 decades is today finally coming to fruition after 9 years of very, very hard work, really committed, relentless to his vision of this new India, to his vision that India can do significantly better than it has in the past, of Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. We are at a point where we are obviously, I think, very, very obviously to most Indians and to most foreign observers, at the most exciting time in India's history. So if there is one thing, I think it is the deep, very, very deep transformation of India's governance, the stability and the economic expansion in the last 9 years, and the safety and security that India today can assure its citizens, be it from terrorism or from any other force around its neighborhood. So I think the last 9 years have been very, very decisively change-driven, if I can use that phrase, Anand, compared to any other point in history of India.
Seva and Sushasana is what you have also outlined, but if I were to take the opposition, Rajiv ji, given Karnataka as an example, they have cited the government promised no corruption. One of the reasons for the BJP's loss is corruption. The government promised a curb on inflation and making things accessible. LPG cylinder was being done puja and they said inflation. Then the third point the opposition pulls up is jobs. The Prime Minister promised 2 crore jobs. Where are the jobs? And I think that was also another reason why it's being pinned as a loss for the BJP in Karnataka. How would you respond to that, Rajiv ji?
No, look, I think the loss in Karnataka is there. Everybody accepts it. It is a political setback. We will play the role of a constructive opposition in Karnataka, and there are many reasons for that loss that our party leadership will go into. But certainly that has nothing to do with or take away from the fact that over the last 9 years, India has progressed tremendously. Indians have seen a very, very different type of governance from Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, and the fruits of that, if you want to call it that, of Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji's work for the last 9 years is visible. We were the 11th largest economy in the world. We are the 5th largest economy in the world, soon to within striking distance of being 3rd largest economy in the world. We were living in the 10 years of the UPA Congress, in the lost decade where corruption, inflation, degrowth, investments running away from the country were the norm. The financial sector collapsed was a norm. And today we are living in an era where there is unprecedented strength in our financial sector, and economy and investments are at an all-time high. Look, to the specific criticisms or the specific opportunism of the opposition to pick on the most vulnerable time in the history of the world, where the world is grappling with COVID and the impact of that on workforces around the world, then this Ukraine-Russia conflict that has caused severe spikes in hydrocarbon and petroleum prices around the world, and to use that to prey on people's vulnerabilities is what the opposition does. But, that is not in any way representative. These last 2 years of difficult times that the world has gone through, and India has in a way sailed through those turbulent times with strength, and we are on the other side of the storm even stronger, is the fact. But that petroleum prices are high because of the conflicts in Europe, of course, we know it. And does that impact gas prices? Of course it does. And we have taken pains to explain that to people, that we have to navigate through this global storm, even as we remain strong. And I just want to point out to you, Anand, that, for example, fertilizer prices, which have been impacted significantly by the supply chain disruptions due to the European conflict, we have kept steady. We have not allowed any availability of fertilizer to be impacted. Fertilizer prices have remained constant, and for the farmers. So we have tried to do, despite very, very adverse and challenging situations in the global scenario, we have tried to do the very best. And I can tell you that the opposition may be using this from a point of opportunistic politics in Karnataka or elsewhere, but the people of India certainly understand what the last 9 years means and what the next 10 years will mean under Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji and the BJP.
There are many aspects I would like to speak to you about, but we'll focus on tech. We'll focus on tech and skill development. In tech, we've just done a story today on news18.com where Japan's minister, or Japan, was inspired by UPI, by our digital infrastructure. But on the other hand, there is also the digital vulnerability, data vulnerability. Two aspects that we as a nation will have to saddle and we'll have to grow. As we are setting an example for 35 to 36 nations across the world, we are also looking at the privacy of data and protection of the privacy and information of nearly 1.4 billion people.
Look, you're absolutely right. And, under Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, technology has taken a very different dimension and scale and the fact that technology today is being deployed at scale to transform the lives of our citizens and their relationship with government. We are today about 83 crore Indians that are connected to the internet, making us the largest connected nation in the world. And just over, within striking distance, in a couple of years, we will have all 120 crore Indians connected to the internet. And so it is our mission, it is our Prime Minister's mission to make sure that the internet is safe and trusted, that we have global standard laws that essentially protect the digital Nagrik, the Indian consumer, as well as at the same time allow innovation to flourish. And whether those laws are to do with the digital data protection law or the forthcoming Digital India Act, we are essentially committed to build the internet to enable our citizens, but at the same time to make sure the internet is a safe and trusted place for our digital Nagriks who use the internet. So you will see that it is a mission on our part, Anand, to make sure that technology is made available safely and inclusively to all Indian citizens.
Well, technology is also being used as a political tool against the BJP. So are you going to be able to secure yourself come Lok Sabha 2024 from an onslaught of propaganda digitally and also with AI being used, Rajiv ji, if I may ask you?
No, Anand, propaganda is the only tool that our opposition has today. And you've seen it in 14 you've seen it in 19, you have seen it repeatedly being used. I say lies and misinformation are the only tool that the Congress have to cover up for all of its incompetence and corruption. They sometimes are successful in it. In the state of Karnataka, they certainly showed that they were successful users of that misinformation and the politics of lies. But look, for us, the mission towards making sure the internet is safe and trusted and that we have all the laws and safeguards in place has very little to do with politics. It has to do with the fact that we consider, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government considers it its mission to deliver the technology to empower all our Indians, but at the same time ensure that that technology does not cause harm. And this is Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision. And over the last 9 years, India has become the preeminent country in the use of technology to empower citizens. And that is why, as you said, the Japanese finance minister, or whether it is ministers from all around Africa and Europe, look at our India stack, look at our global digital public infrastructure and say, we also want to follow the same path that India has. And that is all absolutely clearly due to Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision, his hard work and his commitment of resources to where these resources were absolutely necessary to create this innovation ecosystem.
My final question before I move on to the face-off between the BJP and the Congress tonight on the right stand, Rajiv ji, is on skill. 750 million workforce is what we're going to be ready with around 2030. I was in Sydney recently and I have travelled abroad to other places following the WTO and other economic pacts that the government is signing, trade pacts. One of the aspects is skilling. Is our workforce skilled enough to meet the demands of the world? Because we are going to be the workforce basket for the world very soon.
No, it's an absolutely good question, Anand, and a very relevant question, because such a large percentage of our population are young Indians who are all looking to the future with hope. They have aspirations, they have a tremendous amount of energy and determination to create these bright, successful futures for themselves. And I want to start by telling you a very, very stark fact. Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji became Prime Minister, almost 3 out of every 4 Indians in the workforce of 420 million were unskilled. That was the legacy that Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji inherited in 2014 after 65 years or 60 years of independence. And 65 years of independence. And it was shameful that only a few elite people were able to access skills and education. Over the last 9 years, the Prime Minister has successfully implemented a skilling program that has touched almost 65 million young Indians and given them skills of various kinds. White collar, blue collar, micro entrepreneurship, self-employment. And starting this year in 23, in this budget alone, he has given us 8,800 crores. And his focus is future-ready, industry-ready skills for our young Indians. And this year alone, I think the skill ministry will cover almost 1 crore young Indians skilled in various future-ready, contemporary skills. And I think the collective impact of all this will be, Anand, that India certainly, and young talent from India certainly can pursue opportunities all around the world, and conversely, that the Indian talent will be seen by global economies as a talent pool for their own economies and their own needs.
Well, it's a hard task because you've got many, many miles to go before you get that number, and this number is only going to increase. 1 crore perhaps is lots. 10 million is a lot of people, but given the size of the unskilled population, perhaps that percentage has to get better. And I'm sure you're well aware of that. Rajiv ji, we're going to keep this conversation here today shorter, and hopefully very soon we'll be able to speak to you at length on the DPDP very, very soon. Thank you very, very much. Namaste and Jai Hind. Thank you very much, sir. Let's go straight across now to two people who are masters, past masters in not just making the argument, but also selling it, and very convincingly. And they've kindly agreed to join us tonight on a face-off. Sanjay Jha, political analyst, member of the Congress Party, and BJP national spokesperson Sanju Verma. Namaste and Jai Hind to the lady and the gentleman. I am going to leave the floor open to you. Criticism and counter, please. I'm just going to request you, like last time around, let's keep it a sane, objective debate, fact versus fact, and no personal jibes, please. This is with that, I open it up with Sanjay Jha. Your criticism, or where would you want to credit Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his government over the last 9 years?
Anand, I would like to credit Mr. Modi for having successfully destroyed India's democracy, made India's institutions dysfunctional, and disrupted our society. Let me give you a couple of examples. Mr. Modi's government has destroyed India socially through the very aggressive majoritarian politics, and all you hear from Mr. Modi's government and the BJP and the RSS and all its saffron fringe outfits is the Hindu-Muslim binary. It's a shame. It's an insult to the secularism that we talk about in our preamble. Number two, he's destroyed India's economy. I was hearing, I think, Rajiv Chandrasekhar for a few minutes, and he indulged in the typical kite flying, no substantive use of data. I don't think he knows his facts. India today in per capita income is at number 144. I mean, any economy would grow at a certain rate. At one stage, we will become even a 10 trillion economy. But for God's sake, what happens to redistribution? What happens to the middle class? What happens to the rural poor, to the construction worker? I don't think Rajiv Chandrasekhar was prepared for the conversation that you had with him. And more importantly, there are haves, have-nots, and the have-yachts. Mr. Modi's government functions for the have-yachts, the Adanis of the world. So even there is a polarization. India is suffering from an acute inequality, and poverty has risen under Mr. Modi's government.
Right.
They in fact fudge data to tell you that there is no poverty. I mean, it's a joke. Point number three, look at political polarity in India. You have a situation, Anand, today where the parliament is actually, inaugurated, and the opposition, representing more than 60% of India, says no, because they have been treated with contemptuous indifference. They are also representative of the people of India. The people of India have voted them in. But the government of Mr. Modi uses CBI, ED, income tax, and what have you to terrorize and actually frighten the opposition, putting them in jail, putting cases against them. And we all know the report, right? 95% of all the cases are against the opposition leaders. Last point before I stop, corruption. In Karnataka, this corrupt, I would say it's not just the Karnataka government, it's a political culture of the BJP. This 40% Sarkara is not just a Karnataka bug, it's a syndrome that affects the entire party, that doesn't tell the people of India, Anand, कि electoral bond में इनको पैसे आते कहाँ से हैं? And my last point, what a shameful day today that Mr. Modi and the entire party is having a party. Rajiv Chandrasekhar comes on your show and waxes eloquent, but not a word of commiseration for India's brave women wrestlers who brought us Olympic glory and have to now Olympic medals in a river.
Let me say.
This is for India.
He's allowed to have his say, and he's now yielded. So he's made all his points. You've made a note. Now Sanju Verma respond.
Thank you. Anand, I disagree with Sanjay Jha. He said that Rajiv Chandrasekhar did not speak with data. Now I will speak with data, and I want your audience, including Mr. Jha, to listen very carefully. First, the achievements in the last 9 years on the economy front, because I firmly believe that good economics makes for good politics. I subscribe to that school of thought that if you empower the Janta economically, rest of the other stuff is taken care of. I'll just tell you this, some of the biggest economic reforms, and I'm talking of structural reforms, not just incremental reforms. First and foremost, doing away with the draconian retrospective taxation that was introduced by the erstwhile Congress in 2012 was scrapped in 2021, thereby giving greater legitimacy to people who want to invest in India. And I'm not surprised, in the last 8.5 years, more than $522 billion of FDI has come into India, which means an average of more than $65 billion every single year. Under the Congress, the average was barely $10 billion every single year. Now that is, how the investment community looks at India. Point number two, We had Air India, which was nationalized in 1953. Then we had Coal India, which was nationalized in 1973. Of course, Air India by Jawaharlal Nehru and Coal India nationalized by his daughter Indira Gandhi. And I'm so proud that in 2022, we decided to denationalize the coal sector. And I was just looking before your debate, I was doing some number crunching. Coal India has posted one of its best profits this financial year at 28,000 crores plus. And let me tell you that the privatization of Air India is a boon to taxpayers like us, because every year 8,300 crores plus was being spent, and that too of taxpayers' money, only to keep Air India afloat. Now the last and now let me come in.
Sanju ji, please hold your thoughts. Sanju Verma and Sanjay Jha, I'll come back to you right now. On very short notice, she has consented to join us. So going straight across to Union Minister Smriti Irani ji. Smriti ji, namaste. Thank you very, very much for your time. On a day when the numbers read very, very positively for the women of our country. 1020 women per 1,000 men. That's the data as per the book that's been launched to commemorate 9 years of Modi Sarkar. But for you, what has perhaps been the most significant achievement over the last 9 years? Because you have saddled multiple ministries and you've been there right through since 2014. So let me ask you that.
I've had the greatest privilege of serving under a visionary Prime Minister that needs the cause of my country. That in my country, the education policy had not seen a revision for 4 decades. Speaks of the apathy with which the Congress ruled and governed my country. Today, I'm very proud that the National Education Policy, which comes to the fore after 4 decades, has a special gender inclusion fund, whereby infrastructure for gender-related educational activities have been ascertained. I'm very proud that as Minister Education then, the Prime Minister had blessed the first ever MOOCs platform to be made for our country, and SWAYAM today has over 1.75 crore students who get low-cost higher education. I'm extremely proud that India never had a national ranking framework, which it does now, and that is why you see the rankings of higher educational institutions in the world see the rise of Indian education. I'm extremely proud that as Minister of Textiles, I was first-hand witness to India's self-sufficiency in the production of PPE suits. Remember, in our country for 70 years, we kept importing per year at least 50 to 55,000 PPE suits for the national need. And it is when there was a global lockdown and when COVID struck that India had discovered its capacity to manufacture PPE suits on our own. We built a capacity of over 1,100 companies in our country, became the second largest exporters in the world in just 3 months, with a turnover of over $1 billion, supplying PPE suits not only for the needs of our nation but also across 160 countries. This was only possible because Modi is Prime Minister. That we had the opposition crying wolf and wanting imports of vaccines in our country, and Prime Minister Modi was steadfast and said, let's make the vaccine in India and let's not stand in international queues for vaccine, as India had been habituated under the Gandhi family rule in our country. That we technologically delivered 220 crore doses of vaccines to our citizens and saw Vaccine Maitri help out 160 plus countries with not only vaccines but also pharmaceuticals like paracetamol is something that fills many an Indians with pride. That 80 crore Indians have received over 1,121 lakh metric ton of free food gains, which has never happened anywhere in the world during COVID, is something that fills me with pride as a part of Prime Minister Modi's cabinet. That all of this has been done without raising a single rupee in taxes against our citizens is something that makes me prouder still. But I think the stories that are told every day is by the 11 crore families that have now for the first time had a toilet, 4 crore families that have a roof over their heads, 23 crore Ayushman Bharat cards distributed across the country, 4.5 crore Indian citizens who have received medical assistance worth 5 lakhs free from the government of India. Many such accomplishments and many more to go. But I'm grateful that the country has given us an opportunity to serve under Prime Minister Modi. सेवा के 9 साल के लिए मैं देश के नागरिकों का आभार व्यक्त करती हूँ.
अगला प्रश्न उसके 3 parts हैं. First part, the 40 academics and educationists have met Mr. Siddaramaiah saying scrap the NEP in Karnataka. Secondly, LPG cylinders, which is being claimed by the government has helped women, are now beyond the reach of women. That's the allegation that the opposition makes. Third, a united opposition continues to boycott even the inauguration of the new Sansad. So the government of the day has not been able to get the opposition on board. 3 points, Smriti.
Firstly, if the opposition parties think that they can boycott Parliament, please let it be known that they are boycotting the people and they're not boycotting Modi, because it is the people's house, it's the people's parliament. That the opposition parties today are arrogant enough to even boycott the biggest temple of our democracy speaks volume about the egos that have to be assuaged within a particular political family, which has become the fulcrum for the opposition's dreams. Secondly, when you talk about issues such as challenges that the country has had to face, I must here say that imagine the country facing challenges like the COVID pandemic in the absence of a leader like Prime Minister Modi. One of the greatest examples of how a Prime Minister who is resolute in ensuring that the citizens of our country are protected is when a war came to a standstill, because Prime Minister Modi said, I need to ensure that my citizens are evacuated. What a better example of a Prime Minister's resolve to ensure the safety and security of every citizen. That's why we proudly say Modi hai to mumkin hai. Insofar as the opposition unity goes, Anand, one has to explain how can those factions unite that have slaughtered each other politically for political gains. Mamata Bandyopadhyay has been accused by many a Congress leader in the state of West Bengal of having attacked and sullied the name of the Congress party. So that TMC, which has bloody hands, especially from attacking Congress workers, can Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi or Srimati Vadra truly shake that hand? Nitish ji has consistently called Sonia Gandhi corrupt. Is the hunger for power so divine that Rahul Gandhi will embrace a man who has continuously, consistently called his own mother corrupt? Insofar as Nitish Babu himself goes, a person who needs help to stand on his own political feet today offers support to others. That itself is an oxymoronic situation.
Smriti Irani ji, I know time is of essence with you. We look forward to speaking with you at length. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, that was Union Minister Smriti Irani. Sanju Verma, Sanjay Jha, thank you for your patience. That was not planned, but it happened. So we're going to extend the conversation point here and we'll go up till 8:45 and ensure that both of you have your say too. But you heard Smriti Irani there, Sanjay Jha. Sanju Verma, complete your point. You were rebutting Sanjay Jha.
I was cut short.
I'm coming to you.
I was cut short.
I'm coming to you. You hear me. Hear me out. I'm coming to you. Please complete your point. Allow me to complete so you realize that I'm coming to you only. Please go ahead.
Yeah, Anand, you don't need to chide me. I just made a calm, point very calmly. You don't have to get aggressive with me. Thank you.
I'm smiling and telling you where am I being aggressive. Please go ahead.
So let me just make, all I said was give me time as I barely got to speak.
Go ahead, please.
So please don't start getting
go ahead,
abrasive
please.
with me. Yes, I am going ahead. Please relax. Thank you. So now let me just make my points. Sanjay Jha gave a lengthy bhashan on how democracy khatre mein hai. So I just want to remind Sanjay Jha, it's not that we need a certificate from Joe Biden, who told Prime Minister Modi that, you have showcased that democracy indeed matters. Or that we indeed need a certificate from the Australian PM Anthony Albanese, who also said to Prime Minister Modi on his recent visit that you showcase the spirit of democracy and you showcase the fact that democracy is still thriving and vibrant in India. But closer home, forget about what global leaders say. Closer home, in 2014, 17.6 crore people voted for the Narendra Modi government with a thumping majority. In 2019, the numbers were even better, with 23 crore people voting en masse for Narendra Modi, which means there was a 31% rise over the 2014 numbers. And for the Congress to sit here and wax eloquent saying that Narendra Modi has deinstitutionalized democracy is a bit too rich. And speaking of corruption, let me just read out in 20 seconds the report card of the Congress top brass. We have Sonia Gandhi out on bail in the National Herald scam. We have Rahul Gandhi out on bail in the National Herald scam. We have P. Chidambaram, who is out on bail in the INX media scam. We have Priyanka Vadra's husband, Jijaji Robert Vadra, who's out on bail in the Bikaner land grab scam. So what right does the Congress have to sit here and give a bhashan on corruption? It is like the pot calling the kettle black. Chori upar se seena jodi. Now look at Prime Minister Narendra Modi's record. And Anand, just 20 seconds. I think finally, the biggest indicator of how efficiently a government has delivered is what it has done in terms of last mile delivery. The largest financial inclusion scheme in the world, Jan Dhan Yojana, with more than 48 crore bank accounts opened. The largest sanitation scheme in the world with more than 11 crore Swachh Bharat toilets opened. The largest health insurance scheme in the world with over 22 crore Ayushman cards distributed to the poor and the marginalized. I'm talking of the Ayushman Bharat scheme. And let me tell you, for people who used to say that, oh, no new projects are taking off the ground. In Vadodara, a massive manufacturing facility for manufacturing C-295 aircraft is coming up. In Bengaluru, you have the world's Asia's largest chopper manufacturing facility being set up by HAL. Then in 2017-18, you had Samsung, which set up one of its largest plants in Noida globally anywhere in the world. Today, Maruti outsources from India everything that it exports to other parts of the world. And most importantly, Amazon. Do you know where Amazon has its largest facility center? It is not in the United States. Amazon's largest facility center is at Hyderabad. And I remember while inaugurating this facility center in 2019, Jeff Bezos, the head honcho of Amazon, said that we are doing this thanks to the ecosystem and enabling environment provided by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. I always say that, the data speaks for itself. Do you remember, Anand, a couple of years back,
you have to yield in 20 seconds.
P. Chidambaram, just 20 seconds. P. Chidambaram mocked the Digital India revolution that was underway and said Digital India will never take off. And look at the irony. Last month, 890 crore transactions were done. The value was 14 lakh crore. Yes. Can you imagine 14 lakh crore worth of UPI transactions done in a single month? And the Congress has the audacity to say that Modi Sarkar ne kuch nahi kiya. Please stop wearing these blinkers and wake up and smell the coffee. Wake up and smell the coffee.
Yield please. Sanjay Jha, respond. अब आपने कहा स्टैट्स नहीं है, ये जो इतने आगे मैं खुद ही भूल गया हूँ, इनको कैसे याद रहता है, I don't understand. But please respond.
Anand, to be very honest with you, you have had two people from the government speak and then you have had the BJP spokesperson. This is a lopsided debate. Let's make it a little more dispassionate. Now, I will come to the data. There's too much of rhetoric. Actually, I've heard no data, only rhetoric. So let me answer the first point, which nobody answered. And what a sad and a tragic day for everyone watching your program. To all the viewers of CNN, think about it, ladies and gentlemen. That Smriti Irani comes on the program. You have a BJP spokesperson here. Not a word for those intrepid champion wrestlers who brought us glory and who are being compelled to put their medals into the river because this government doesn't want sexual harassment charges against a man who belongs to the BJP. 50% of Indians are being insulted today as we talk. Now, let me tell you the data. This is a very important point, and I wanted to address the viewers of your program. But now, Anand, very succinctly, you keep hearing about, FDI. Let me debunk that in your program right now. FDI is never talked about in absolute terms. It is talked about as a percentage of GDP. And let me tell you the data on that. In 2008-9, the FDI as a percentage of GDP was 3.5%. Under Mr. Modi, is down to 1.8%. Now, the biggest point here, Does this government even know that if all the data that they have been rattling, Mr. Chandrasekhar, Mrs. Irani, and the BJP spokeslady, why have the people rejected them in 2 states back to back, Himachal Pradesh and Karnataka? Because all that you're hearing is statistical, what I call as nothing but skullduggery. It's all basically a spin and it has no substantive statistical base. Point number 3, over 16 lakh people, Anand, that's a big number. 16 lakh people have left India since Mr. Modi became Prime Minister. If this country was really doing great under Mr. Modi, people would be returning back. The brain drain has accelerated. People with wealth, I'm talking about people with not just entrepreneurial skills, but dollar millionaires have left India in thousands and lakhs because they find India suffocating, they're scared, and they don't want to live where they are finding the society insufferably toxic. Let me give you another point, very important. Jobs. The one...
Anand, may I come in?
Well, let him complete, please. Yeah. Let him
I'm
complete.
a student of economics. I will tell you this. By the way, you know, this is my area of specialization. On jobs, that is the one data on which you cannot debate how an economy does. You have a situation today under Mr. Modi's government where the Prime Minister is doing event management. He's doing PR.
I take strong objection to this kind of language by this man.
See,
Not interrupted.
you please rebut.
Objection to this
You,
kind of language by this
Sanjuji, it's just
Congress
one minute to Sanju Verma and Sanjay Jha. Let Sanjay Jha make his point. It's his point of view. You are welcome to disagree with it, but I'll come to you for your counter. I'll give you your time, Sanjuji. Okay? Yes, Sanjay Jha, please complete.
My last 2, which will expose that this is a party of liars. They lie to the people of India, and their lie will stand exposed in every election till 2024. Let me give you 2 points here. On jobs, Narendra Modi does a drama. But 72,000 jobs through a video conferencing. And this is the same party that promised us 2 crore jobs a year. By now, they should have had 180 million jobs. What they are giving away is 72,000 appointment letters as if they're doing a charity. This is taxpayers' money, for heaven's sake, government jobs. And the second point, how they lie to the farmers, doubling of farm income. ये भैया जो सरकार अपने किसानों और अपने जवानों से झूठ बोलती है ना, उस सरकार को अपने सरकार में रहने का कोई बुनियाद नहीं है.
May I please come in now, Anand?
Right. Now, Sanju Verma, respond.
Okay. You know, संजय झा के लिए मैं दोबारा जो प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने हाल ही में लोकसभा में कहा था विपक्ष के लिए, let me repeat those lines because they encapsulate the essence of how a frustrated, debilitated, and an electorally vanquished opposition. I will give you data now. Keep quiet. It's not your turn to speak. It's your turn to listen. I heard you without heckling you. Thank you. Pradhan Mantri Narendra Modi ji, Anand, you will have to now moderate.
No. He's quiet. He's quiet. No. He's quiet. Like I said, let's not. We've had a fantastic conversation so far. Both of you are making your point. Let's try and maintain that decorum.
Let me make
That's
my
only
points
request. Please, Sanjay Jha, allow Sanju Verma to make her point. Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you. Yes. Now, without being heckled by Mr. Jha, let me make let me first start with that, those few lines by Prime Minister Modi on the floor of the Lok Sabha, where he said to the opposition, and so brilliantly at that, तुम्हारे पाँव के नीचे जमीन नहीं है, तुम्हारे पाँव के नीचे जमीन नहीं है, लेकिन कमाल तो ये है कि तुम्हें यकीन नहीं है. You keep talking about the BJP's loss in Karnataka, and I will keep repeating, one swallow does not make a summer. The Congress was reduced to a measly 17 seats in Gujarat. The Congress was reduced to a measly 5 seats in Manipur. The Congress was reduced to a measly 2 seats in Uttar Pradesh, despite Priyanka Vadra going around town saying, "Ladki hu, lad sakti hu." The Congress was reduced to a measly 19 seats in Uttarakhand, where the BJP formed a consecutive government for the first time in 27 years, for the second time in a row. So for the Congress to start patting itself on the back of one victory, I think that's a bit too rich. Now let me tell you something else. You know, foreign direct investment, by the way, under the Modi government is close to 4% of GDP, and I'll tell you why. Anand, for the first time in the last 75 years, this financial year, we had exports of 760 billion dollars. That number was barely $325 billion in 2013. We've more than doubled our export tally. Now I will tell you one very interesting thing. You know, people keep saying corruption, corruption, corruption. Some of the biggest NPAs, be it Bhushan Steel, be it SR Steel, be it Lanco Infra, be it Era Construction, be it JP Infra, be it Monet Ispat, all these companies turned into NPAs because of blanket loans being given without prudential norms being followed under a corrupt Congress dispensation. And I'm very happy to tell you, more than 8.6 lakh crore of bad assets and NPAs have either been recouped or monetized by the Modi government, which I think is brilliant, given that we inherited such a poor legacy. Now, talking of the fact that, Sanjay Jha always accuses the Modi government of being majoritarian. I say secularism means respect all religions, differentiate between religion and the state, but do not undermine your own religion. And I'm proud as a tax-paying Hindu that Narendra Modi is not hesitant or reluctant to wear his Hindutva on his sleeves when he laid the foundation stone of the Ram Janmabhoomi temple in 2019. And yet, Narendra Modi is more secular than Sonia and Rahul put together because he does not hesitate putting a chadar at the Ajmer Dargah. He's the same man who does not hesitate serving langar at the Golden Temple in 2016 or visiting Rakabganj and Seesganj Gurdwaras with equal aplomb. He's the same man who also addresses, the 150th anniversary of a renowned Jain Muni. So he's a man who's very comfortable in his own skin. Under the Congress, being Hindu was a crime. So Sanjay Jha needs to relearn and unlearn the definition of majoritarianism. And just last 20 seconds. I think one of the biggest successes of the Modi government, Anand, and this is your area of expertise, has been foreign policy. I mean, today we are chairing the G20. We just relinquished, after serving 2 years as the chair for the, non-permanent membership of the United Nations Security Council. We are amongst the few nations who, despite tremendous bullying, did not hesitate to sign the S-400 deal with Russia in 2018. We dehyphenated our policy with respect to Israel and Palestine.
We are not.
I think I can go on and on and on.
Yes, I know both you and Sanjay Jha. I know both you and Sanjay Jha have the ability to go on and on and on, but I have the limitation that I have to pause. To the lady and the gentleman, thank you for a very sane, engaging debate, and thank you for your patience. I've run out of time here on this segment. I have to take a very short break, but as always, a pleasure speaking with you. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we shift the spotlight to cricket, ladies and gentlemen. The Super Kings, once again, champions of IPL 2023, fifth-time champions. Tala Dhoni's moment there, the 10 defining moments of that IPL final when we come back. Stay with us.
Provisions would include identity theft under Section 66C, computer-related offences under Section 66, and also the entire issue pertaining to cheating by impersonation by using a computer resource. But the problem is that most of these offences are now bailable. Also, you don't exactly know who are the real people who are doing it. So consequently, the police is very, very hesitant to go ahead and register these kinds of cases. No wonder you find that victims who become victim of these abuses often find that they do not have any adequate, effective legal remedy available. The time has come where these service providers like WhatsApp need to be made far more accountable. You can't let them be mere mute spectators while mayhem happens on their network. And I think they can't say that, look, we are committed towards privacy, but we are closing our eyes on what's happening on our network. Sorry, it's your network. If misuse is happening, you have to rectify it. You have to give effective remedies to the affected persons, which is currently not happening. And right now, the good thing is that the government has written to WhatsApp. I hope this is followed by more effective steps, more effective due diligence parameters being elucidated by the government. And finally, we require more dedicated, stringent legal frameworks so that these kinds of abuses, which are effectively beginning to impact the lives of common man, should potentially be curbed at the earliest extent possible.
This is a CNN News 18 investigation. A fresh scam has been unearthed via WhatsApp through international calls. These calls are known for extorting people and scamming them in the name of providing jobs. CNN News 18's Yash Goyal has conducted an investigation on the very same, and he gets you a report on how this scam operates. Take a look.
मुझे लगता है कि अगले 4-5 साल भी माइंड से तो नहीं निकलेगा, क्योंकि मुझे डर लगा था पता नहीं अब क्या करेंगे, कैसे करेंगे.
He is a victim of a notorious cyber scam. One phone call changed his life forever. Swindlers resorting to a new modus operandi using WhatsApp. Like him, many of you may have received multiple calls on WhatsApp from international numbers. If you did, then you too could be on the target of these scamsters. WhatsApp scams from international numbers are on the rise. In fact, in the last few days, several users have reported receiving calls on WhatsApp from unknown international numbers, and the internet is flooded with their complaints. Here's how the scam operates. The easiest way scammers have found is to offer you a job, and in return they just ask you to click several links. In the beginning, victims get paid a small amount so trust can be built, but at last, you end up losing both your money and data. Second, and probably the most dangerous one, is extortion. You meet with your worst nightmare in case you make the mistake of answering a video call from an international number. Once you take the video call, the person on the other side records the screen and threatens to doctor the video into pornography and make it viral on social media platform and will float it on the internet. With new guidelines from the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India tightening telemarketing rules, companies are turning to WhatsApp to reach users. To identify active WhatsApp numbers, companies use script softwares to make calls. Unfortunately, this compromises users' privacy rights.
अभी रिसेंटली हमने भी देखा कि ये चीज़ बड़ी है, इंटरनेशनल नंबर्स के थ्रू ये कॉल्स आने शुरू हो गए हैं. अभी तक जो हमारे पास इंफॉर्मेशन है उसमें ये जनरली जॉब ऑफर्स करते हैं इसके अंदर. दूसरी चीज़ इसके अंदर जो होती है, आपको वीडियो कॉल आता है कई बार, इंटरनेशनल नंबर से भी आ सकता है, नेशनल नंबर से भी आ सकता है. आप सोचते हैं कि क्या होगा वीडियो कॉल. आपको एक बात समझनी होगी कि जब भी आप कोई वीडियो कॉल लेते हैं तो आपका जो फ्रंट कैमरा है उसमें आपका कोई कंट्रोल नहीं है. वो ऐप से ऑलरेडी जुड़ा हुआ है, चाहे वो कोई सी भी ऐप आप यूज़ कर रहे हो वीडियो कॉल के लिए. आप वीडियो कॉल जैसे ही रिसीव करेंगे आपका फ्रंट कैमरा ऑन हो जाएगा.
CNN News 18 spoke to a sextortion victim who explained what transpired after he received that first video call.
मैसेज आया मेरे पास. उस मैसेज के व्हाट्सएप पे आया, +92 का नंबर था वो. उसमें मेंशन था कि मेरे पास आपकी कॉन्टेक्ट डिटेल, फोटो सब कुछ है, पूरा आपका लाइब्रेरी मेरे पास है, आपने किसको किसको क्या क्या मैसेज किया, सारी इन्फॉर्मेशन मेरे पास है. और आप अगर ये चाहते हो कि हम हटा दें या किसी को ना दें तो हमें 2 लाख रुपए ट्रांसफ़र करो. देन उसके बाद 3-4 घंटे बाद फिर से उसके मैसेज आने लग गए. तो मैंने तो अब की बार उसने मेरी फ़ोटो मॉप करके मुझे भेजी. मेरी फ़ोटो थी और बहुत ख़राब फ़ोटो बनाई हुई थी. अब मैं बोल भी नहीं सकता ऐसे बनाई थी.
The union government has also taken stock of the situation and has sent a notice to WhatsApp to look into the growing menace of international spam calls, terming it as misuse and breach of users' privacy.
So there are some settings that you can apply, especially on WhatsApp. There is an option that you can block all those numbers. Those are coming from unknown people. Normally you give camera, microphone, contact list, files and folders, SMS access, which is very dangerous. If somebody is taking your SMS access, they can actually read your OTPs also.
WhatsApp is owned by Meta, and when we asked about how their platform is used to trap innocent people, this is what they had to say.
Protecting the privacy and security of users is fundamental to Meta and WhatsApp. WhatsApp is a leader among end-to-end encrypted services in protecting user safety. However, bad actors
Back on with a quick look back of what happened early this morning. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, because that IPL final not only spilled over from Sunday into Monday, but from Monday into Tuesday. And I'm sure many of our viewers were awake till about 4 a.m. because the crowd just would not go despite the match getting over. Everybody wanted to savor some time. And imagine Ahmedabad chanting Dhoni, Dhoni for an emotional captain who has committed and said, just for the fans, I will work towards coming back. I will do the tough thing that needs to be done. If health permits, if all goes well within 6 to 8 months, I'll take a call and I'll come back after that thriller. It went down to the last ball. Phenomenal performances from the likes of Shubman Gill, Wriddhiman Saha, Sai Sudarshan, Mohit Sharma, doing such phenomenal work for the Gujarat Titans. But on the other hand, you had the likes of Conway, Ajinkya Rahane, Shivam Dube, and of course, towards the end, Ravindra Jadeja, who just weaved their magic. Ambati Rayudu, that cameo of a 8-ball 90, did it all change the perception? Well, let's look at what are the 10 standout moments. We've tried to pull out 10 moments out of that. Every frame-by-frame thriller. MS Dhoni calls it right at the toss. That's the first part because he said, I forecast and I predict rain and we'd like to know what we'll have to chase. That's where it all started. And he called it right. Many thought there won't be any rain. He knew it could be, and it was. It did rain. Gill stumping. That was that magic, despite Deepak Chahar dropping him. Shubman Gill. Was that all set up? Was that Dhoni's plot? The only batsman who could take this match away, 2-1-4 could have become 2-4-1. 0.12 seconds. Tala's magic still there. Wriddhiman Saha, the oldest to score a 50 in an IPL final at 38 years plus. Look at that person's contribution. Amazing. Did he actually get his due on the national stage? That question always remains. Sai Sudarshan taking Gujarat Titans past the 200 mark. That 96, 4 more runs. That youngster would have got his 100 in an IPL final. But what batsman. Amazing. Despite the fact that they lost Gill, Sai Sudarshan took them past 200. Rain changing the equation for CSK. The target now 171 in 15 overs. Had it been 2-1-4, 2-1-5 in 20 overs, would they have actually won this match? Had it rained an hour later, what could have been the nature of the game? Ajinkya Rahane turning the momentum just when it was all slowing down and the pressure building up for Chennai Super Kings. 6, 4, 6. And then you had Ambati Rayudu and Shivam Dube sparkling in those stunning cameos. Again, Rayudu and Shivam Dube striking important boundaries at critical times. And then in that last over, Mohit Sharma, first one, bottling up Jadeja. But then he got one which falls at full toss, just turns it into a horse volley and hits it back for a 6. And then takes the last one down with the pressure. Escapes shot fine, the boundary and then victory. It is Ravindra Jadeja who goes there. Iceman Dhoni in tears, lifting Jadeja, and then you could see the tears. Everybody shocked. Dhoni ro raha hai. He's expressing himself. Chennai Super Kings champions, lifting the 5th IPL title with the promise. As Dhoni said, it's the best time to retire. Easy to say thank you, easy to walk away. Need to do it for the fans. I will come back. It'll be a gift from me to my fans. That's what he said. We're looking forward to that. With that, we call it a wrap on this edition of The Right Stand. Zaka ready with Brass Stand.
Good evening, this is Brass Tacks. I'm Zaka Jacob. There were dramatic scenes today at Haridwar as the wrestling champions, Olympians Sakshi Malik, Vinesh Phogat and Bajrang Punia decided to drown their medals in the Holy Ganga. There have been daggers drawn with the WFI president Brijbhushan Sharan, against whom at least 7 wrestlers, including one minor, have accused him of sexual harassment. But eventually,